All right. Hey, thanks for checking out our video. We are here to talk about why we think Smallville is one of the great Superman stories ever told, ever put to film. My name is Dave Bratton, and I'm here with.
I'm Michael P., fellow Smallville fan.
We're just going to jump right in. Smallville is a story of a teenage Clark Kent and his journey into not just becoming an adult, but becoming the world's greatest superhero, Superman. And the show literally starts with his ship coming to Earth, and in the pilot, it quickly jumps to Clark Kent in high school. And then the show continues on for 10 seasons and ends with Clark Kent becoming Superman. So that's Smallville in a nutshell. And we're going to get into why we love it. So my first question, Mike, for you is, when did you become a Smallville fan?
Oh, that's a good question. So for me, it was season one, episode one pilot. And I remember, I've said this story before, but I remember the hype leading up to the premiere. And I can remember premiere night on my couch at my parents' house and watching it for the very first time and just being in awe of everything. But it's funny because I remember it like it was yesterday, just a lot of these vivid moments, especially in the pilot, like the meteor shower and seeing that for the first time and just being amazed and seeing something so special. So
I'm like you. My answer might sound strange, but when people ask me when I became a fan, I actually say before it ever aired. Like, that makes no sense. And I'm like, no, hear me out. So, the internet was a thing back then. It wasn't what it is today.
yeah,
But I remember reading about this television show, Smallville, coming out about, teenage Clark Kent and how he one day will become Superman. I just thought it sounded really exciting, really fresh, really unique, really cool. And I'm a huge Superman fan. So when I read about that, I was psyched. And my wife and I actually went out to California the summer of 2001, a few months before Smallville aired, and we took the Warner Brothers studio tour. And I distinctly remember at a certain point, I asked the tour guide, I'm like, hey, Smallville, can we go see where that's being filmed? And the guy was like, yeah, that's up in Canada.
nice.
So I was bummed. I was totally bummed. So I was there. I couldn't wait to see it. And then, like, you saw it when it premiered and was all in
Yeah,
with that pilot. Smallville went 10 seasons and lasted about 217 episodes. So you really get to know these characters over that time.
and you see them evolve, right? You see them evolve from I think especially I'll call out Lex's evolution throughout the show. Almost a night and day difference, I think, from beginning to end, and I think it's pretty powerful. So,
It is. And speaking to that, it's not just about the characters and the writers who write them. It's about the actors who portray them. And I thought the casting for Smallville,
yeah,
one of the best cast shows I've ever seen. I mean,
yeah,
just everybody seemed to be perfect for their respective roles. Whether it's Tom Welling as Clark Kent, he's a young actor, finding his footing as an actor, and he really did on that show. And he just looks the part, he handled the part, he embodied the part.
you hit on a great point with Tom. I think it being one of his earlier roles in acting, I think it worked really well for him because we have Clark Kent, who is just this innocent, wholesome kid. And I think with Tom's age back then and his experience, I thought it fit perfectly and seamlessly. And I really, really, really appreciated that.
Clark, you're not outgrowing me as a friend, are you?
Chloe, I could never outgrow you, other than vertically.
I don't think there could have been a better casting. And I say that because we wouldn't have change any one of those pieces and we wouldn't have gotten what we got. The stars aligned. I don't know what to say. The stars aligned, and this is one of those shows that I think is a once in a generation.
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me. Who's got you?
I grew up watching Christopher Reeve, but because Tom Welling played Clark Kent at a specific time in his life, he's almost separate from all these other incarnations and stands apart. So when I think of the character, and maybe other people, whether it's Henry Cavill or Christopher Reeve or whomever, Tom Welling is who I think of as the young Superman, and it's always Tom Welling.
I think for me, I grew up when Clark was growing up on the show. And so for me, when I watched this, this was, I could relate. This is the first time that I could recall anyway, that we got to see Clark Kent just as Clark Kent, like a normal schoolboy. And I think they did a great job of humanizing him and making, that target audience it made him relatable.
There comes a time when you gotta step out of your father's shadow and be your own man. Now, what do you say? You ready to be your own man?
Count me in.
Good. I will see you at practice today, 3 o'clock. Don't be late.
I genuinely think that's what I loved about it so much is you think about this literally a larger than life character like Superman, who is impervious to, what everybody thinks, I think anyway, like anything, like bullets bounce off of him. He's faster than a speeding bullet and more powerful than a locomotive, all those things. And then for the first time you see, well, wait a minute, this kid goes to school just like everybody else. Like, this is unheard of.
He missed the bus.
He misses the bus. I missed the bus. Things like that. And it was just so darn relatable. And I think, especially with my age back then and growing up with the show, it was just like another, I don't want to say another friend, but it was just like watching through the lens of someone like myself. Like, hey, this could be a classmate of mine. I don't know. Mysterious like that. So
yeah. And one of the things you mentioned, you dropped a couple names of some of the characters, and I go back to it deepening the myth. It expanded on characters that were in, the Superman comics, the Superboy comics, and added new ones. And the expansion, it gave us young parents for Clark Kent. That was new. These were young people, in their 40s, vital people, vibrant, and we really got to, we'd always read Clark's parents are the reason he turned out the way he did. Well, we got to watch that. It wasn't just, my parents were a big influence. We watched them be an influence in his life on a weekly basis.
What if it's part of who I am? Is that the kind of person I will become?
Clark Kent, you're here to be a force for good, not a force for evil.
Well, how can you be so sure?
Because I am your father. I raised you, and I know you better than anyone.
It also took characters like Lana Lang and Pete Ross and expanded their roles in his backstory. I mean, I always, viewed Lana Lang as somewhat of an afterthought, more just a piece of his past.
Yeah.
Kristen Kruk, who played Lana Lang, her character was not an afterthought. And then they added new characters like Chloe Sullivan, which sort of spoke to his future. She was like the intrepid high school paper reporter and kind of like nudged him into trying that out and, working on the school paper, adding Lionel Luthor, Lex Luthor's dad. As to me, he's one of the great characters in the Superman story now.
Empires are not brought down by outside forces. They are destroyed by weaknesses from within. Lex, I've told you this. Smallville is your test. Right now, you're failing.
To be left unsaid, but Michael Rosenbaum And again, I respect every actor that's come before and after for their performances as Lex Luthor, but there is no one better than Michael Rosenbaum, in my opinion. So again, maybe a controversial take, but I'd argue I think a lot of fans out there will concur with that.
After years of pleading with my father to show me some compassion, he turned to you with open arms. Now, what would a worldly billionaire have in common with a simple farm boy?
Maybe he just knew he could trust me.
Of course. Everyone can trust Clark Kent.
Oh, something else I loved about the show is it wasn't just an introduction to this really unique and fresh take on Superman, but the DC universe. And we got to see lots of other DC characters, sort of the Smallville version of these characters, over its 10-year run. Almost a pseudo Justice League at one point.
That's what I was just going to
for
say.
an episode or two. It was the first appearance for a lot of these characters in live action on television.
Yeah, and this was the story before the story, not just for Superman, but for so many of them. And again, that's what made this show so unique, because I don't think that this had been commonly explored before, especially not in this degree. To your point, 10 seasons of this show. This was really special, and I think as the show evolved, so did its direction, and it was just so refreshing to see. Oh my God, I didn't know I needed this until I finally saw it. And I said, I need this. I need more of this. It was amazing.
And 10 seasons, it just kept going.
Oh yeah.
A lot of shows you're lucky if you get 5.
Right.
And so to double that up.
And especially nowadays, this is 10 seasons of 22 approximately episodes per season, hour long. This isn't, and this is not a jab at any current day shows like on Netflix, but this is not a 8 episode 30-minute kind of thing, and then we wait 2 years. This was, as Tom and Michael have said in the past on Talkville, like this was go. This was nonstop. Almost year round for them to produce that content to give to fans like us. So,
a small town on the edge of innocence.
Who's there?
It's me, Clark.
A young man on the threshold of destiny.
We wanted to protect you. Protect me from what?
Michael Rosenbaum, Kristen Crook, and Tom Welling.
We didn't find you, Clark. You found us.
The WB presents Smallville.
Just even in the description, they were very clear. This is the journey of a young Clark Kent as he becomes, like, it begins with, teenage Clark Kent, and it's going to end with him becoming Superman.
Yeah.
And something that's really unique about that is, how the show's going to end, and it's going to have a really good ending.
Well, and I think that was what was so unique about the show, to kind of further your point, is for this show to go as long as it did with us fans knowing where it's headed, I think is remarkable for it to captivate such a large audience for so long, because we know how it ends. Many have heard the no flights, no tights kind of slogan, and for it to do it for so long and still keep fans immersed and watching week after week, I think really speaks volumes on not only the acting, but the writers, the production, and everyone involved in this larger than life project.
Absolutely. And also seeing their willingness to bend on the rule, but not necessarily break it. Yeah. Because they knew as soon as he's in the tights and the cape, the show's over.
Yeah. Crusade stands out to me. Not that I won't necessarily get into episodes, but Crusade is one of those episodes where you're like, oh my God, he's finally doing it. But is it truly Clark here? And that's how I think they get around it. So, yeah.
They did.
I am Kal-El of Krypton. It is time to fulfill my destiny.
Destiny! That's Jor-El talking! He did this to you! I want my son back! Give me my son back!
Clark Kent is dead.
Look, the show, 217 episodes. To put it in baseball terms, they didn't bat 1,000. Not every episode's a home run.
Right.
And I will never crap on the show, but there are some episodes and there are some storylines where I'm willing to fart in their general direction. But there are a lot of great episodes, and even some of the episodes that maybe I didn't like as much, this gave me something that I wasn't getting at the time.
Yeah.
And that was great Superman moments.
Yeah,
even.
it's hard. I mean, let's keep it real. It's hard to defend every episode. I'll take the good with the bad. It's not perfection,
Absolutely.
although I've never seen a show that is. I don't think anybody would claim that this was a perfect show. It has its highs and lows, but again, what I
Yes.
loved about it so much, and what I think so many fans will comment on, is we all embrace the highs and the lows. I don't know of any fans. I guess I can only speak on myself, but when I rewatch the show, I rewatch it all. I don't skip, oh, this was filler. Why? Because some of
Right.
that filler does significantly contribute towards the overlying plot, whether or not we realize it or not.
Absolutely. And there's a lot more good than not so good.
Oh,
There's-
100%.
Yeah. I mean, and that's something, having rewatched it, I'm like, yeah, I really love a bunch of these episodes. And okay, I didn't love that one, but oh man, these next few, it's a good watch. And I think it's sort of a must watch if you're a Superman fan.
You can watch this show now and you can still, a brand new audience can still relate. All this time goes by and you think, oh, this show is so dated now and this and that. But Smallville doesn't necessarily match that, or it breaks that mold in that respect. Sure, some of the special effects may be a little dated, etc. But granted, I look at things, especially with this show, maybe through rose-colored glasses, but I will say it does a really darn good job. And especially when I talk to fellow fans that are watching it for the first time, they express the same thing, like, oh my god, I can't believe how good this show is. How old is this show? Oh my god. And I think it amazes a lot of people, and I think that's another reason why we have this second generation now, or the second wave of fans that are now coming to the forefront that are celebrating the show, because it does have that stay power. So it's something special.
No, I agree totally. It's not just the what, it's when.
Yeah.
This was 2001. Like, the last time Superman was on television was Lois and Clark in the early mid 90s. It'd been a while.
Yeah.
The X-Men film had just come out, but there wasn't a lot of superhero content.
Show off.
Yeah, Smallville was the foundation, for the CW kind of going the direction it did with all the superhero shows. I think the reason, they created the Arrowverse is Justin Hartley played Green Arrow in Smallville and showed himself like to be a viable character.
Yeah.
And they said, you know what, let's create this new show. We'll call it Arrow. And then they expanded from there, and so many other shows with Supergirl, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow. Sure, I'm leaving others out that I enjoyed. And then that sort of culminated in the Crisis on Infinite Earths, where we actually got to see Tom Welling reprise his role as Clark Kent, albeit briefly.
So worth it. So worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think, and I'll use this term loosely, but I think Smallville walked so that others could fly. Call that very cheesy, but I would argue Smallville flew the entire time. But it really did pave the way. I am confident, while I can't prove it, but I'm confident that we would not have seen shows like Arrow or Flash or
100%.
Legends of Tomorrow. Like, we wouldn't have seen any of this had it not been for Smallville.
Agreed. And a lot of the people who worked on that show worked on some of the Marvel shows too.
Yeah.
So I think it didn't just have, it had a very specific and direct impact on CW as a network, but it affected other shows that are on streaming, the Marvel universe. The phrase you hear often is standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah.
I think a lot of shows stood on the shoulders of Smallville.
Yep.
So
Agreed.
Smallville ran for 10 years, but its legacy, lived on not just in the CW shows and in other shows and in other movies, but it's sort of renewed itself in a podcast called Talkville that's run by Michael Rosenbaum and Tom Welling, Lex Luthor and Clark Kent, respectively. And it's a rewatch podcast. And I know that's something that's been happening with a lot of television shows recently. And I was really excited when they, announced that they would be doing that for Smallville, where they started from the pilot and they'll just watch every episode and then discuss it and bring in, producers and directors and other actors and fans.
Yeah.
Like Mike here, who are on quite often, and it's just so fun. It's so cool.
Welcome, Michael Piccioni.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm stoked.
Well, Michael.
Yeah. So for me, this podcast was a breath of fresh air because this was, I think, the first time that we had seen and maybe I'm wrong, but that we had seen the actors kind of relive the show, so to speak, or revisit the show is probably a better word for it. And I remember I was so excited when I first heard this announcement, and I know a lot of fans were. And when the show kicked off, I think it was just amazing, and it still is. And I've said this before, but I really, really love Smallville so much more now because of the community, because of the individuals that I've met as a result of Patreon. And so for those of you who are watching that are not familiar, Patreon is a way that you can give back to support various projects like Talkville. And I'm a Patreon member, and there are a lot of us. Dave is one as well. There are a lot of us out there, a lot of us Smallville fans, because we want to see all 10 seasons of this rewatch podcast come to light. And I think it's a great way to give back to the show.
Support for the podcast by joining Patreon at patreon.com/Talkville. And you could be a patron and be on the show and get to ask questions, tons of stuff.
Because the show is great in of itself. But, and I would argue this for anything, if you can't share those experiences with other people, I feel it caps a lot of that, I don't want to say emotion, but maybe some of that feedback or that experience in general. And so to be able to share that with other fans, and those experiences, hey, what were your thoughts on this episode? Or what did you think about this? And to find, so many individuals that agree, but then there's also a lot of individuals that don't. And you get to appreciate why they don't. And you kind of, it's so, at least in this community, I found it's just so civil. It's like, oh, well, I'm a Klana fan, and then you have others that are Clois fans, and we can all live in harmony, believe it or not. And it's really awesome though, like hearing a little bit like, well, tell me why you liked, this scene so much, and why did you not like it? And I get a kick out of that. And that's how I've, met Dave was at last year's Smallville convention.
Yeah. One of the cool things in going to the Smallville con, the best thing was becoming friends with Mike. The second best thing was meeting Tom and Michael because, it's fun meeting your TV heroes, and one of the things I wanted to do when I was a kid, I was 6 years old, and for my birthday, my dad gave me a copy of Superman 317. I think he just bought it off the rack or something. And it's my favorite Superman cover of all time. Neil Adams. It's considered a classic. It's actually worth money just because the cover's really cool. The story itself is nothing special, but the cover's amazing. And so what I wanted to do is recreate it as a Smallville homage. And so I did. And it was really cool to get to present a copy of it to Tom Welling, give that to him. I had multiple copies made. I asked him to sign one for me, so I have that. And I actually gave him a copy of Superman 317 with it, just so he would, just know what the heck it was all about, So that was a really cool moment. And like Mike said, going to these cons, connecting with the community, that quick connection or that connection you get to make with, Tom and Michael and a lot of the other stars from the show. They're really nice people. They're people, we see them on screen as these larger than life characters. They're people. And, and generally they're really kind. And so it's such a nice experience. and it was really cool to get to do that. And I had a few extra copies, so I made sure to give some of my friends a copy as well.
I was going to
So,
say, Dave, I have a copy of that, and I will say it's phenomenal, and I absolutely love it. Phenomenal work. And yeah,
thanks, man.
I'd say that, to your point with meeting these stars, they say, you should never meet your heroes. They'll disappoint you. These individuals do not, and I've met them enough times now to say that there's a reason why I continue to go back to the cons to meet them over and over again and share those moments, because they are some of the kindest people I know I've ever met, and their legend on screen follows them off screen, and these are just great human beings, as you have said, Dave. So. In a world today where we have the premiere of a brand new Superman movie, and then obviously a number of years behind us with a lot of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the DC universe as well, in movies and in TV, I think there's a reason why many of us continue to talk about Smallville, a show that aired almost 25 years ago now. And again, I feel the show itself speaks for itself. But if you have seen the show, I think you'll know what I'm referring to. But if you haven't seen the show, what better time than now than to check it out?
There have been other Superman TV shows, other Superman movies, and I really enjoy most of them a great deal. Smallville's, it's just so unique in that it took a look at Superman in a really different way. It started in his adolescence, and it took years to develop. So it's a deeper dive. It's a different way of viewing the character, and anytime there's something you love or a character you love, and you can see it with fresh eyes, which Smallville gives you, I mean, it's a gift. So I highly recommend, if you haven't checked it out, and you're a Superman fan, or if just even a fan of the superhero genre, I think you'll really like what you're seeing.
Yeah, and I'll take it one step further. Even if you're not a fan of superheroes, I still think it has something to offer those that are not, because there is so much that you can relate to in this show. And again, it speaks for itself. And Dave, what you mentioned a second ago as well is this was an incredibly unique take. And I think there is a reason we haven't seen anyone else try to tackle this take again, because Smallville did it so well. That's just my opinion, but I think there's a reason for that.
Yeah, no, they set the bar and they set it really high. You had the great writing, you had the great casting, you have all these elements that come together the way it did. It creates something that has stood, for the test of time and for all this time, for the last 20 plus years.
I never would have thought that I would have met individuals like Dave, like so many other individuals that I have met, that have truly become what I feel are going to be lifelong friends now because of this show. And that's where, again, I don't know many shows that are able to do that or say that or to bring people together like Smallville.
You guys are awesome. We're going to be signing in here all day, so please come by and say hi.
So one of the cool things that happened when I went to the Smallville Con, Salute to Smallville, is I got to talk to Tom Welling briefly, and I was grateful that I actually got to tell him, thank you for doing everything you did. I know he put in like long days, long months, long years, 10 seasons of up to 18-hour days, and and he was genuinely appreciative of that, which is really cool, because everybody, the Goff and Miller who created the show, the producers, directors, writers, the cast, the crew, everybody, they worked really hard and they worked long hours to make this terrific show, this unique telling of the superhero journey.
Yeah, for me, the reason why we're here, the reason why we do this recording is because we love the show. This is our love letter to Smallville. And to hear the stories that Dave has just mentioned, or the stories that you'll hear on Talkville of the countless hours on set, whether it be Tom, Michael, Kristen, Erica, whoever it may be, their efforts, their passion, it shows in that final product. And for so many of us, I know so many of you watching this video now, Smallville means the world to us. And so, simply put, thank you to everyone involved in Smallville. And that's not just Tom and Michael, that's every cast member that ever set foot on the set on any episode for all 10 seasons. And transcending that, a big thank you also to Alan Miles, those who made it happen. And not to be left unsaid, the writers, the producers, the set designers, the special effects, everybody, thank you for the countless hours and all your passion and your blood, sweat, and tears that you put in to making this show that Dave and I and millions of all of us around the world have come to love throughout the years. Thank you.
And for everybody who sat through and watched this video, thank you.
To the cast and crew of Smallville and to everybody watching at home, thank you.
Oh, I like that. I want to say that now.
Yeah! You know what? Not that. You know what? Here, you punk! Get out of here!